And Abigail, what is love?
Love is God. Can't separate the two. And I think a lot of times in today's world, we try to put love in this thing of what people classify it to be, but you don't know love if you don't know God. And that's what God is. He is love. I don't believe that it's a characteristic of him. I believe it's part of his character. It's who he is. It's he is love. God is love. And it's not like I can say like, oh, Jacoby's so kind. Well, that means it's now a characteristic of him versus Jacoby is kind, like is love. And that's, you can't understand love until you understand God because he's the perfect love. He's,
And do you love all? I'm sorry.
I said we did our first episode on love, and it was so deep because a lot of people say I love chips, like I love TV, and like the real love is someone dying on the cross for you, and we couldn't do it ourselves, and did it before he even knew us, and before we even knew him, and that's what I think real love is.
And do you love all people?
We're called to love all people.
And do you?
Sometimes I do.
At least you're on.
So you guys don't love all people?
I mean, I give them a chance. I mean, if they, I try my best to love someone until someone, gives me a reason not to, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have people that, oh, I hate you so much. Like, I don't really have anybody that I have a grudge towards or anything.
Abigail, do you love all people?
I try my best, like you said. I feel that we're called to love, like you said,
but we're human. I think at the end of the day, we're all human.
But sometimes loving somebody, like loving people, looks different in every relationship. And like how I love my husband is not the same way I'm gonna love a friend.
Well, we know you're not gonna have sex with him. I understand that.
No. It's just a different type of relationship. And then,
so let me ask: do you love your enemies?
Yes.
So you love all of your enemies?
Yes, we've had a journey on that this year.
But why don't you love all people then if you love your enemies? How is it possible to love your enemies but not love all people all the time?
No, I'm saying I love all people, but what he was trying to say is like we're not perfect, so sometimes you have to get back on track to loving that person. Like sometimes say somebody does you wrong and then you're hurt and you're like, I don't love them anymore, but you have to step outside of yourself and back in with the Lord and love them. Even if loving them just means keeping distance and praying for them. Loving can look like that. And that's how we were instructed. Like we're instructed to love all people. So
Jacoby, what's wrong with the blacks?
With the blacks?
Yeah, what's wrong with the blacks?
I don't think there's anything wrong with the black people.
He's like, what?
Yeah, the blacks. Yeah, what's wrong with the black people?
I don't think there's anything wrong with the black people.
Really? Abigail, what's wrong with the blacks?
I don't know. I don't really think about that. People are people.
So you don't see anything wrong with the blacks?
If you're asking me, no, I don't. I don't think there's anything wrong with them.
Really? And you don't see anything wrong with the black, Abigail?
No, I don't. I guess I just don't see from color standpoint. I see more so like person standpoint. Like, like I'm not gonna say like stereotype people into a certain category as far as like their color.
Or else you wouldn't be with me.
Yeah. So,
Do you believe racism exists? Either one of you believe racism exists?
I mean, I believe some people are racist.
And how about you, Abigail?
Yeah.
So both of you believe racism exists, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
And what is your proof that racism exists?
I mean, I was just playing Xbox earlier and people were just saying all types of different slurs. I mean, you just see humanity for who it is and the way people talk to other different races. I mean, it's clear. Some people admit it.
And where's your proof that racism exists, Abigail?
I don't necessarily have proof. I would just, I feel like some people are like, I'm from a very redneck town.
Right on.
Yeah, I grew up in a very redneck town.
With white people.
With white people. And I know some people that if they like have an opinion on me being married to a black man, and that is an example of that,
But is
like
that racism or their opinion?
I guess I don't know. I can't answer that, but I think that racism is more like when they're coming against that person and trying to harm that person, I guess. But
But that's violence if they try to hurt them. But I still don't see the proof because an opinion of someone is not necessarily racism. It's just someone's opinion, right?
yeah,
I'm sorry?
yeah, I don't know.
So you guys don't have any proof that racism exists. And yet you believe it does. Because when you were hearing the slur, the bad names, it's just bad people calling you bad names. And you called people bad names before, right, Jakobe?
Oh, we was on a good run.
I know, man. Jakobe, you've called people bad slurs before, right?
I mean, I probably called them something that wasn't their name, but
Have you done that? Have you called them, use a slur to call people names,
Yeah.
right? Were you racist?
No.
And so why was it racist when they call you slur names?
I didn't. They didn't call me a slur name when I was playing the game today. They called somebody else it.
And so, but it's just like you have done it. Why was it racist when they did it to someone else? Why was that racist?
I think there's a difference between calling someone out of their name to like calling them a bum versus calling them something that only their race will be classified. Like black people got a certain thing that they'd be classified. Spanish people got a certain thing that they would be classified. There's a boundary where you're just crossing the line when you're saying a certain slur versus calling someone like a bum or something.
But why can't it just be a bad person using bad language on other people because they're unhappy?
I mean, it could be. I mean, it just all depends on your definition of what racism is.
God never said that our battle was racist. He said our battle was spiritual. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spirits and principalities. Why do you call it something other than what God called it?
Well, I never called it that, but
You called it racist with the slur, the bad names.
I didn't call it racist.
You said that was your example of racism.
You asked us if we thought racism existed. I said yes.
And you gave me that example.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
But you call that racist then, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is it possible racism does not exist? It's just something made up by human beings?
I mean, I don't see anything. I think if you look in the Bible, that if you read the book of Jonah, that he didn't like the people in Nineveh. That's why he didn't want to go there. So I don't know if you classify that as racist or whatever you call that.
Did God call that racist?
I'd have to go look in the book of Jonah, but I know he didn't like those people.
He just didn't like them. Human beings, because human beings are evil, they just, in their evilness, they judge one another and they try to hurt one another and they try to get revenge because their hearts are wicked. It has nothing to do with race.
Yeah, I think the evilness is some people decide to take it to race. Once they get their insecurities and they get hurt, that's when, yeah, it might be evil, but that's when they,
Well, let's call it what it is so that people can see that they're evil. That way they have a chance to get over it because they have the real deal, right? But if you call it something that it's not, you can't get over racism if it doesn't exist. It's just a made-up word.
Yeah, that's what you want to call it.
What do you think about that?
I mean, I understand your perspective, where you're coming from. It's just about how people classify it.
Do you believe human beings are evil?
I believe we are sinful nature. And so our sinful nature gives us evil desires, yes.
Abigail, you believe human beings are evil?
I mean, yeah, the sinful nature, we were born into sin.
Right. And so why not call it evil rather than give it a fake name and cover up the devil work?
I mean, I think that your point is good, but I think also too at the same time, like the question, we just kind of like, yeah, I don't think we really thought about. It was just kind of like that was our answer, But I understand your perspective, and that makes sense because at the end of the day, in the Bible, I think it's in Psalms, it says the heart of man is wicked. So the heart of man is wicked. There's going to be all manifestations of it, it might be in different forms.
Yes.
And it's a matter of recognizing the enemy behind it. Like you said, the principalities in the air and everything, it's recognizing the spirit behind it. It's representing the demonic oppression behind it. And I think that's what everything, like, we just have to discern it in the spirit and see what's happening behind. It goes back to the roots.
So Christians should call it what it is and not call it what the world call it. The world call it racist because they're coming up for evil. But Christians see that as evil, and you see it as evil, you can make it help the person understand they need to overcome it. They can overcome it. But you can't overcome something that doesn't exist. Racism does not exist. Isn't that amazing?
I hear you.